Matthew Beem, welcome to Clickbaited. Today we're going to get your take on fake headlines related to YouTube and content creation.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Look, we're going to jump straight into the first headline, if you could read that for us.
YouTuber claims it's impossible to get views without spending millions of dollars. I don't think you have to spend millions of dollars to be creative at all and get views. Guys like Ryan Trahan and Casey Neistat prove all the time that you can just be super creative and have a great story and it'll work.
What's the most you've ever spent on a video?
I think it was like $120,000 or $130,000, and it's like one of my least performing videos ever, unfortunately.
Of course. Which one was that one?
So when Jimmy was about to hit 100 million subscribers, I wanted to take inspiration from him for what he did for PewDiePie. So I wanted to make some fun videos like get him subscribe like he did for PewDiePie. So I really wanted to do like a video like in honor of him, how he would give money away, which probably was a terrible decision because he spends a lot of money. But I gave away like $10,000 to each contestant and did all these crazy things. We got a backpack and we're inside of an airplane. I found a professional skydiver and I threw the bag out with 10 grand in it. I was like, if you catch it in air, you get the 10 grand. He did catch it. Rented out in a stadium, had $10,000 under one of the seats. They had like an hour to find it. So very, very expensive getting these facilities, these planes, and then also giving away the money. And it didn't perform that well, and it kind of goes to show like I was trying to do a MrBeast style video in honor of him, but kind of got to do your own thing for it to perform. So it didn't do super hot.
You're well known for creating these amazing different projects. So everything from you just rap Speed's bus. You've done, created crazy statues for MrBeast. You've kind of flooded your house. When it comes to budgeting for these videos, are creators giving you a budget to put towards these projects? Especially, I guess, if it's a custom request, or, are you going to people as well and saying, hey, we'll build you this for free to be in your video? How does it generally work?
Yeah, for the most part, I've never really charged YouTubers. Lately, I've had some that we haven't really been able to fit into the timeline and stuff, and they've been able to like help cover it and stuff like that. But for the most part, we haven't really done that in the past, which maybe my accountant doesn't love the most because we spent some kind of crazy money and stuff. So I don't know how long that will be the case in the future, unfortunately, because I'm actually looking at a piece of paper right now with all of my video costs for my last 6 videos without payroll. So
Can you give a ballpark to us?
I could just give you the exact number. I don't mind. So like transforming Speed's bus was $19,000 without payroll. I built a custom yacht that was $28,000. I did a video where I pranked YouTubers, $22,000. The video where I transformed MrBeast's lobby with all the trophies, the Rizzler's room, Costco guys, Stokes twins, Salish, that was $30,000. I hid Arak inside of the trophy at MrBeast basketball game. That was $11,000. So that's kind of the weird thing. At the bottom, we have an average here, and it says the average right now for those videos is $19,331.
And that's before payroll as well, which is obviously a massive...
Yeah, payroll for us is about $75,000 a month. So that adds a ton to it. And like with that number, like you saw, there was a video with $30,000 and then $10,000. And the views were only different by 7 million. So what's interesting is I can't really find a correlation with my own content on spending certain amounts of money. It's kind of just...
Yeah, just diminishing returns, basically.
Yeah, kind of. So we just kind of make the best concept as possible. And unfortunately, like different concepts cost different money, but there's not a huge correlation with how they perform on how much we spend.
So I'd be really interested to understand kind of what your revenue streams are, how you make money as a company, other than just ad revenue.
Yeah. I love this question because it's one of the biggest questions I had for other YouTubers when I was trying to become a YouTuber, because I want to know what it looked like. And then also even being a YouTuber now, I'll go listen to videos like this and be like, how are they making money? So I love getting this question because I love answering it to hopefully help people's curiosity out there. And for me right now, it's basically about 45% AdSense from YouTube, the actual views that they get on YouTube. And then the rest would be brand deals that we get from my management company, Night Media. I will be honest, like there's a lot of times like during this recording in October of 2025, like I'm currently not paying myself again right now. And then when I do, it's not the most crazy. I pay myself $4,000 a month when I do pay myself, just because I think that's like some like government rule or something like that. But like right now, the company's not super profitable because we had some slower brand deals and stuff like that. And I invest back into the channel so much. So yeah, I mean, sometimes the margins can be super slim. A new thing that I've been loving to tell people is when I was younger, I used to think like anybody successful or creators especially were thriving. But what I kind of realize now is they're kind of surviving. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
it's about surviving the storm, because there are slow months where, you know, you're kind of surviving off the bankroll that you built up a little bit and you're spending it, and sometimes videos won't work out. Like looking over here, me building that custom boat was like 29,000-ish dollars. And it's one of my only videos recently to not even do 2 million views. So the investment didn't pay out. There was no brand deal on it. So
I mean, we've both seen the kind of MrBeast setup and how he works. There's a lot of reports about, you know, the losses that he's made on his content. And, you know, I think both of us haven't seen that. You can kind of understand why. You know, he's got so many different revenue streams like Feastables, etc. But not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mean it fully covers everything. If you were going to make an influencer product, actually, what would you make?
yeah, I get that question sometimes as well. I don't really know. I think since we like build stuff, it would be kind of cool to do something like Mark Rober has those cool Crunch Lab kits and stuff like that where people can build things. I love cookies a lot. So I don't know. Sometimes like creators will have like something that, you know, that may not have anything to do with their brand, but it makes sense as a product, or maybe it's something that matches them a lot. So honestly, it's not something I've put a ton of thought into, like, because I really just spend most of my time just really trying to make the channel, you know, be more successful. We have a really big goal of trying to get to 10 million subscribers, and then really trying to focus on figuring out how to potentially hit 100 million subscribers. So that's kind of really where my heart is right now. And as far as the products go, I don't know. Like, I think maybe something around building or something could be kind of fun.
It's interesting what you said before as well, because you said you want to wait until the channel's bigger, and it's like you're on like 7.5 million, nearly 8 million subscribers, and you don't even think you're there yet. I mean, that must have seemed like such a pipe dream.
I mean, talking about how you said like misconceptions about how much YouTubers make and stuff like that. If you would have told me a few years ago that I would have close to 8 million subscribers and I would still be living in my mom's basement and sometimes don't pay myself, I would be assuming that I'd be like, what color Lamborghini was I going to drive that day? But it's not the case. So, you know, but as far as like what it feels like, I mean, I always wanted that, of course, but it's definitely a pinch me moment and doesn't feel real at all. I can't believe it. I remember like growing up watching FaZe Rug and these different people like have their success and getting like the balloons, let's say like 1M and stuff like that. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And it's been so cool to be able to do that 7 times and hopefully more in the future. So I definitely, I can't even believe it, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons I don't want to do a product yet, because I just feel so blessed and inspired with the amount of subscribers I have. So I just really want to, you know, continue making great content and focusing on what I'm good at. And I kind of want to launch other channels and stuff. Because like I don't know anything about cookies and sports drinks and things like that, but yeah. I think I do know some stuff about making YouTube videos. So like I kind of want to maximize my opportunity there before I expand out. So yeah, but I mean every day is really, really crazy. Like having the warehouse and the things like that. Or I mean, the other day I was at lunch with a friend. We've gotten really close playing basketball. I just met him kind of recently, and he'll just like ask me. He's like, "So what's it like? Like what's MrBeast really like?" And it's just such a crazy question that like I actually know these people on a casual level and don't really, you know, see them that way. I will say I'm a little bit of a dork, and like I'll save their name as like their YouTube name in their phone. In my phone.
I do
this. And like the profile picture is the same. So it'll be like MrBeast with that, because I'm cringe like that. And at the beginning, like when they would text me, I'd screenshot and be my wallpaper. So like MrBeast, FaZe and ZHD texted me, and it had their logo and their name, and I screenshotted it. So it always looked like I had a text from them, which was so silly. But like being where I'm at and like kind of where I came from of how bad I wanted it and sanding cars and stuff like that never seemed like a reality. So super, super insane every single day.
So before we move on to the next headline, Moist Critical recently announced that he was going to stop all his donations. Obviously, he's a streamer. It's a little bit different. He's a streamer in Super Chat, but he revealed his YouTube back end, and it showed $35 million since around 2019 that he generated. Where would you kind of fall in line with that in terms of just your pure YouTube earnings? Do you know what that figure is since you started kind of blowing up with videos?
Like how much my YouTube channel's made from
AdSense?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we kind of average like $50,000 a month on the low end, and that's kind of our average. And sometimes like when I have a video blow up, we'll hit up like 110, 150. So it kind of depends, but 50 is kind of our average. So I think we make like $600,000 to $800,000 a year on AdSense times almost 4 now. So not as crazy as you would think. And that's kind of been a really big pinpoint for us, because our videos are so expensive, but we just don't have that volume that other creators have. going into the new year, we really want to try to upload more, but still give the audience that same level of quality, and making a little bit longer videos so that, we can get a little bit more revenue. But I don't believe that videos can be just made longer in the edit, so we actually try to make them better in the camera and deserve to be longer. But we're definitely trying to figure out how to get that number up.
Okay, cool. Well, let's do a truth rating on this headline.
I would say 100% from a certain perspective. What's interesting though is I think some smaller creators that haven't quite had success would say that. When I couldn't break through, I thought it was impossible to do it without spending millions of dollars. It seems harder when you are smaller to do it.
What would be your advice to small creators who think this is the case?
Just don't give up. For some reason, I've said this before publicly, but for some reason, when you go to college, no one asks you why you didn't get your degree or graduate after day 3 or day 4 or year 1. Like, some people go to college for 4 to 10 years or whatever to get their thing, but they think they're going to blow up from one video. So you just got to keep going and master your craft every single day. So you just got to keep going. You can only fail when you quit. So don't quit.
Nice. Let's get on to the next headline.
YouTuber claims they invented a 25th hour in the day to complete their videos. Yeah, I mean, it would definitely be nice if there was more hours in the day, that's for sure. There's definitely not enough to do everything that we have to do. As you mentioned before, I was a full-time YouTuber. I used to paint cars for a living and work tons of hours over there, and then would actively upload weekly on YouTube, which was very difficult, but just had to figure it out. And now I'm lucky enough to do YouTube full-time, but there's still not enough time in the day to do that. Like, if you hear some crazy sounds, it's because my team is out there building some incredible projects, and we're editing next door in the room next to me and stuff like that. So it's a lot of work, but it doesn't really feel like work. I'm really blessed to be able to do what I love and kind of created my hobby into my job, which is amazing. But definitely lots of long hours and days. And yeah, I can't remember the last time I actually didn't do YouTube for like not even a day.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you're painting cars, and then what kind of drives you to push on with YouTube then? What made you kind of go in that direction?
I mean, it was even before that, like when I was younger. So I was born in 1997, like way before YouTube was out, obviously. And when I was in like kindergarten, they would ask us what we wanted to do when we grew up. And I wrote down director, and all the other classmates put down like actor or astronaut back then, or basketball player, like athlete. And I wanted to be a director for whatever weird reason. So like back then it was really popular for like your parents or grandparents to have those old VHS recorders, and it would just sit in the other room, and I would just grab it and kind of record me doing random stuff or playing with action figures and stuff. So I've always loved creating content. And, as I grew older and I started playing video games and stuff, I would see people posting on YouTube, and I discovered YouTube. So I actually started uploading videos like back in 2010 when I was 13 years old. And loved it. It was like gaming, Modern Warfare 2 style stuff. I wouldn't show my face or talk because I'd get called a squeaker online. I was really embarrassed of all that. And then it kind of just, evolved as I got older. And then kind of as I got into high school, I focused on sports and high school a little bit more, but I always knew I wanted to go back to YouTube. So once I got my job, I was kind of ready to kind of start going into that. So I used my money to invest, and I wanted to start on Instagram first to build up a little bit of a following, and then try to move that over to YouTube. So I actually started with shoes because I was really big into basketball, and there's like, the shoe culture with basketball, like Jordans and Kobe's and LeBron's. And there was a whole, YouTube market for that as well. And I really enjoyed making that content, but I kind of felt like it was limiting me. I still love sneakers and things like that, but I wanted to be able to make content about whatever. So kind of changed my content over the course of time, and here we are. But I've always been super passionate about making videos. It hasn't just been like a YouTube thing.
What's been your favorite video?
It's always a good question. I think the generic one is like my last video, like I'm a very passionate person, and like I love like the idea and then bringing something to life, and we always try to challenge ourselves. So I'm always usually most obsessed with our last video because we learn new things and stuff like that. So I always usually like our last video. I always tell our team that like theoretically, the videos we make now should suck a year from now because we're learning so much. But I will say probably the most fun I've had, like growing up, I'd watch Casey Neistat and these other YouTubers, and they went like on the most expensive plane with Emirates, and I always dreamed of doing that. And then I had the opportunity to do that. So that's one that comes to mind. Like sitting first class on a $30,000 plane seat was incredible. Went to every Disneyland in 100 hours. That was awesome. I got to see the world and stuff. So there's a lot of different videos that have special places, but I think it might be the Dubai one. The crazy flight was pretty cool.
So how much planning goes into these kind of videos then? I mean, obviously it's going to depending on what you've got to do, but you know, like you said before, you kind of getting last minute requests a lot, or is it something that's kind of planned out in detail over time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm known for like collaborating with streamers, YouTubers, all these things, and I always joke with them because it seems like it's like a 3 day thing. I'm like, if I had like a month or something, I could make it, a little bit better maybe, but we get challenged a lot, but I do love challenges. So we've had as little as a couple hours to think about something and then pull it off. But typically, like if I have it kind of the perfect way, it takes like a week or so to kind of have a proper plan, and then probably another week or two to build these things. But sometimes we don't have that much time because, people get like with Speed's bus, there was only so much time they had it because they rented it before the stream started. So, just kind of having different challenges like that are super fun, but it allows us, like we'll know about the project beforehand. So like we have this warehouse here in Colorado and we'll kind of pre-build as much as we can. So then we don't have to be on location as long. So kind of just depends, but usually like 2 weeks.
So one of the videos that I'm really interested in speaking to you about is the your top viewed video ever, which is filling your house full of water. How did you keep it contained? Is there a bit of production magic in that in terms of what happened? Because I didn't really understand, I guess, how it would stay in, if that makes sense.
Talking about fake headlines, YouTuber floods his house with water. It would seem fake, but it ended up being real because of me. But when I was younger, I wanted to take on these different challenges. So it started with my bedroom, and I turned my bedroom into a cereal bowl. I turned my bedroom into like a little mini fish tank, and we did it very differently. I liked the idea, but I didn't like how I pulled it off. We built these wood things and put a tarp in there, and it was still cool and it did the mission, but like I wanted like the walls to be what was holding the water. So yeah, to answer your question, it was a video that I dreamed about for a very long time. I thought it would be really successful, but it was very interesting to figure out how to pull it off. And there's definitely some magic in there, but I think that's why it's also successful. So we'll kind of keep it a little bit of a secret, but I will say there's definitely some movie YouTube magic in that, but it was 100% like filled with water.
Yeah.
We were in there, nothing, no crazy edits or anything like that going on. Like when the house was completely filled, we were scuba diving and stuff in there, and there was no electricity and stuff, and you could hear it cracking, and one of the boards split. Once all the water went out, like the floor was completely split. So it was very dangerous and crazy. And people ask me all the time, I have consultants or friends, like, why don't you do that again? That video was so successful. And I'm like, there's kind of a reason it was only done once. Like it's very difficult, very expensive, tons of water. Like there's so many details you don't think about. We used water that was just like absolutely freezing. There was no way to heat it, so it was very, very cold. Like we're shivering in there the entire time. It was a very, very
well.
crazy.
If you had hot water as well, it would steam, so that would mess up the cameras.
Yeah, it would probably mess things up. And then like since we had furniture and stuff in there, the water wasn't like crystal clear like we wanted it to be. So like our kind of finale shots, we wanted to see us like swimming down the staircase or over the bed, but the water was like so murky from the carpet and stuff like that. But that's truly an incredible video, and I can't believe that it has 100 million views on long form, and it gets about 5 million views a month, and it just keeps going.
Yeah, it's on 123 million right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. I really can't believe it. The funniest part about it is I remember uploading that video, and I went to the gym and I was on the stair climber, and the video was a 10 out of 10. It was my worst performing video of the year at that point. And it stayed that way for about I think a day or so, and it wasn't doing too hot, and then it really, really picked up. And then over the last 7 months, it's kind of been like a super rocket ship, which is really cool.
What happened to the house afterwards?
Mold, floor separating.
Did you keep the house though?
Not the best condition.
Did you stay living there, or was it just?
Yeah, we kind of had to do a lot to make it good. It wasn't the best. And it didn't hold on to the water that long at all. The water escaped very quickly. So yeah, very crazy.
So back to our headline. If you did have a 25th hour, how would you use it?
That's interesting. There's a lot of answers. Maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's making more videos. Sometimes I think with, any profession, especially YouTube, like we're so focused on doing the work that it kind of potentially maybe stops you from your next idea. And I'm super passionate about playing basketball and doing different things. So I might actually try to figure out how to spend that time not doing those things so then I could be more beneficial to my channel. Like I don't know if this is true, but someone told me like Steve Jobs thought about the iPhone walking around a garden. Right. So like I kind of try to do things like that every now and then. Like the first thing I installed in my warehouse was a basketball hoop, and that's kind of how I think about a lot of these ideas. So maybe doing something away from YouTube to actually get more out of YouTube.
Can you give a truth rating out of 10? How likely do you think it is that we'll see this headline one day?
I would say 0% because MrBeast would have already done it. And if he does do it, it won't be a headline. I'll keep it very secret on how he figured out how to do that.
Yeah, he will. Awesome. Right, let's get into our next headline.
Survey reveals 106% of YouTubers are petrified of falling off. I mean, we kind of been playing this game where at the end you ask me to say how real it is. I would say the number is bigger than 106%. I think everybody is afraid of that. Talking about MrBeast and how he's kind of been a great friend and mentor of mine. The day that I got this warehouse, I had 600,000 subscribers. I had just quit my job, terrified because I quit my job. And everybody's like, I don't know how to be a professional full-time YouTuber. So I FaceTimed him, gave him a tour of my warehouse. And I was like, hey, when will I feel safe? Like, not that I'm going to lose everything tomorrow. And he kind of just started laughing. I was like, why are you laughing? And he's like, maybe when you hit 50 million subscribers, but probably not. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, do you still feel like that? He said, yeah, I feel like it sometimes, but probably not. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, it's kind of a toxic trait. Like when you're smaller, you feel like you'll never make it. And then once you make it, you're afraid of losing it. So I think it's just kind of human nature, but what I try to do is maximize every second that I do have it because, one day, whether you retire or your channel does start going down, that's why I think the earlier headline of the 25th hour, every YouTuber does want that because you want to live in the moment and appreciate every second so much because it is such an amazing time. And, I know that these are going to be memories that I'm making for the rest of my life, no matter how long I do it. But so far, it's been an incredible 3.5-year run. But I think every single person is pretty terrified of that, which is unfortunate. Like when you work at other places, ideally, you're not afraid of losing your job 24/7. But I can tell you personally, if a video does bad, like my family knows that I think my career's over and, I go practice like my paint strokes so I can go back and paint cars. So, yeah.
Why do you think there is such anxiety among YouTubers around that? Because, in order to get to that position, you've said it yourself, you've worked hard, you've never given up, you've done all of the right steps. Why is it then that, you then think that it could all just go away suddenly?
Well, for one, I feel like it's because we have a target in our back in a certain way where when I was a smaller creator, I kind of felt like I had an advantage because no one knew who I was and I was studying them like crazy and I was grinding in the dark. So there's millions of people that are coming for our job every single day. It's like being a professional athlete and there's tons of people out there playing basketball and practicing their craft every single day. And I'm the type of person that believes that like athletes over time are getting better and better than they were 20 years ago and stuff like that. And I didn't get to grow up with YouTube. I was 13, like when I really started watching it. So, these kids are watching these things. Like if I went and tried to play Fortnite or something like that, I'd get destroyed by a 7-year-old. So like, these kids are growing up with these things. There's like new AI tools and all these things that they can use. And like these podcasts that me and you are doing or Jimmy, like these things didn't exist when a lot of us were pioneering these things. So these kids are able to learn so much. So, they're able to learn from us directly and they're coming. And everybody, this is such an amazing job and stuff like that. I think if you were to ask people, back in the day, like I said, it would be YouTuber, but now they kind of call it an influencer because maybe you're making short form content or streamer or whatever. But I think it's probably the most competitive job in the world where everybody probably that's under the age of 35 has tried at some point to at least post content and thought about it, whether they're working out, like maybe I'll be a fitness creator. So I think it's extremely competitive. So, when you're working at, a fast food place or a car painting place like I did, I didn't have pressure of someone coming in trying to paint a car better than me every day. But there's so many videos posted every second. So it's just so competitive. So, you got to kind of just stay on the top of that. Like I always tell my team when I go play basketball, like LeBron James is like the greatest athlete ever. I don't have to be as good as LeBron James when I'm playing in Colorado. But when you're uploading a video on YouTube, all of those great YouTubers are on the right. So like when you're in the arena with them, you're in the boxing ring with the best people in the world. And the viewer doesn't care if your video sucks because they just want to be entertained.
And it's so public, I guess, as well. Like failure is so public in this industry.
And you'll read comments like bro fell off and stuff like that. Like, and it definitely could get to people's heads at times. And it's a really weird thing. I remember watching creators when I was younger and they'd be like, it changes your relationships with people around you. Like sometimes family members will text you and be like, dang, last video didn't go so hot, huh? And because it is so public, like you said. Like I would absolutely have the worst painting day of my life, and there would be runs and it would look terrible, and I would repaint it and fix it. But you wouldn't have your girlfriend or mom or cousin texting you, "Dang, that was a rough paint job today," But like with YouTube videos, your phone will blow up and be like, "Dang, what happened in the last video?" Or when it's good, tons of people will message you and be like, "That was crazy. You were Speed. You were with Jimmy." So like, it's just such a vocal thing that you get to see and hear. So it really can set your tone and mood. So I think it creates this really large fear.
How do you personally deal with like negativity on videos then? Because like you say, you get people saying you've fallen off. I'm sure there's worse things that people say as well. How do you deal with that? How do you kind of rationalize it?
There was times where it maybe affected me a little bit more, but a lot of times now I'm a bigger critic on myself than anybody else in the world. So I don't think most people could say anything that would even like scratch the surface of like how hard I am on myself. Like, we'll do about 17 to 25 versions of a video before it's uploaded. I'll do thousands of notes on a video, like focusing on little effects and transitions and pacing the story and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I work incredibly hard, and like when I upload a video, it's like kind of everything that is possible is out there and stuff. So when people have an opinion on it, it doesn't really bother me that much because I know what I put in. So it doesn't really affect me that much anymore.
That's a good mentality to have. I think you'll go far with that. Or you are going far with it as proof is proof in the pudding, as they say. You talk about, you're going up against all these big names, you're going up against all these different people, a lot of them who you are friendly with. But one slightly unfriendly, I guess, potential opposition in the future is AI. What do you think about AI? A lot of what you do, I guess, right now, in the future, people could potentially see that as kind of like, could claim it's AI. I'm sure they do already. What kind of steps are you taking, and where's your kind of fear level on AI right now?
Yeah, I guess I got to be careful what I say because potentially they're going to be Terminators and watch this video in the future and destroy me. So I got to pretend that it's my friend. But I don't have a popular opinion about it. I know a lot of people don't like it, so I clearly don't like it. But my unpopular opinion is I think it's going to slow down a little bit, like on the bell curve of stuff. I feel like iPhones have been the same for the longest time. Like I've had 3 camera lenses on my iPhone forever. So I think like when something's new, it kind of can grow exponentially a little bit easier. Kind of like even my channel, like I hit 1 million subscribers in like 100 days and then 2 million very quickly after. So I think we're seeing a lot of incredible things and stuff. Maybe it's just me being biased, hoping that it slows down a little bit. I kind of am hoping from my personal feelings that humans kind of like watching other humans and stuff. And that's what makes things impressive. So I don't know that it's going to have a really big thing. Like I've seen a lot of different trends kind of come and go. I think it's a new buzzword. I remember like everybody thought NFTs were going to be crazy. And I think like, they still have their own lane and stuff like that. But I mean, it was every athlete's Twitter profile picture and stuff like that. So I think AI is a buzzword right now and it's a trend. I think it's here to stay, but I don't know that it'll take over the world like people say, because I don't think we want that to happen.
Okay, let's get a truth rating for this headline.
I'll say 107% just to warm up it a little bit.
Extra impossible maths.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Let's get on to our last main headline.
All right. Reports find MrBeast copycats dominate YouTube in 2025. I would say, like, of course, I mean, I've been called that 1 trillion times. I would say this is 100% true. And what I think is interesting about this, I'm actually really excited. Like some people would try to dodge this question or something like that. I think it just goes to show Jimmy's greatness and stuff like that. Like when you are a true pioneer and do incredible things, that's kind of what comes with it. You got certain athletes and stuff like that. Like every kid pulls up from half court and shoots a 3-pointer because of Steph Curry now. So like when you do something good, you kind of change things forever, So I think in some level, when people say MrBeast copycats, I think almost every single person in the YouTube or influencer industry is inspired by Jimmy. I mean, we even talk about like, Speed's raising his production level and stuff like that. I think we're all very inspired by Jimmy and what he's able to do. And he really cares about his craft and making the best videos possible. But I do think it's important, I want to put out there, to have your creative spin and be your own person and stuff like that. And be inspired is one thing, like the colorful thumbnails and stuff like that. But like kind of 1-for-1 copies are never fun, but it does happen. I mean, you'll see a company launch breakfast sandwiches and then the other competitor does it the next week and stuff like that. So I do think people forget, even though YouTube is creative and it's artistic, like it is a business. So there's people making business decisions. If something works, someone else is as well. But, that the headline's very, very true. Whatever works, people are going to do and be inspired by. And like Speed and Kai and these other people are crushing it on streaming. Now there's going to be Speed and Kai copycats, but at the end of the day, MrBeast is going to be the best at being MrBeast. Speed's going to be the best at being himself. I'm going to be the best Matthew Beem. So I think, you can take inspiration, and I think that's what art truly is. But being yourself at the end of the day is what's going to win.
Your first viral video was actually, or one of your first viral videos with MrBeast, right? Creating a car. How did that come about? How did you end up in contact with Jimmy? I know from our experience, it was very fast, and then suddenly we were just in the circle. But what from your perspective, how did that happen?
Yeah, it was a very long process. I saw him having success and wanted to figure out how to get in contact with him. I only had 16,000 subscribers. So I took this investment. I obviously wasn't a full-time YouTuber. I took this investment from the money that I had made, and I went to Staples and bought like 5,000 8x10 photos of Jimmy in black and white and covered my friend's house with them to get his attention. It didn't work. The video flopped. It got 800 views. I remember crying like a little baby with my girlfriend. I was so disappointed because it's the most I've ever spent on a video. It didn't work. But one of his producers followed me on Instagram, and it said that Jimmy actually followed him too. I was like, oh my gosh, this is my in. So I kind of used that as my in, and made this car because he launched MrBeast Burger, and it was the height of COVID and ghost kitchens and stuff. So I thought it'd be cool to make a delivery car, like a pizza car, and really talking about being yourself, focused on what I could provide and what makes me unique, which was cars, painting them and customizing them. So I made this really cool car. Started driving towards North Carolina. That's all I knew. And texted the guy on Instagram when I was 16 hours away a picture. I wanted to wait as long as possible to kind of add pressure. And then they were like, this sounds cool. And then they called me and they're like, we'll see you tomorrow. And I gave him the car, averaging 200 views a video. And, we got to film, and that was really cool. And I turned off the camera for a little bit and showed him. I was like, hey, this is how many cuts you average in your videos. This is this is that. And he was like, oh, you're crazy like me. And he followed me on Instagram. We continued talking, and I think I really gained his respect that day because I showed him how bad I wanted it and the research that I did, even though I only had a couple hundred views a video. And then from there, just kind of kept taking on crazy challenges, and one thing led to another.
Have you, because not MrBeast took you under his wing by any means, but, you were a smaller creator going to him, and he kind of give you the time. Does that change your perspective on when smaller creators come to you as well?
I mean, it doesn't change my perspective because I always believed in it. I always thought it was amazing. Talking about, my upbringing of playing sports or working in that car place, like I always think it's important to, as a human to like kind of share your knowledge of what you know. And I think it's a really fulfilling thing and stuff like that. So to kind of pass the torch and teach things like that. So very grateful that he spent that time with me and all the people that have helped me and mentored me and stuff like that. And I take every opportunity that I can to do that. That's why on podcasts like this and stuff, I try to be as open as possible to answering questions and stuff, because I think a big part of what you can do is, motivating that next generation, helping them, inspiring them and stuff like that. Because I don't think anybody, whether it's MrBeast or whoever, you wouldn't be where you are if there wasn't somebody before you that kind of helped you and taught you some things. So I think you have to pass that on.
Our second to last question. You often throughout this interview, you've used basketball as a metaphor quite a lot. How do you, is that the way you see life? How has that come about?
I definitely think it could be a way that I see it. There's the competitive nature, there's the teamwork, there's winning and losing. But when you lose a game, you keep playing and stuff like that. But it's just a super important thing in my life. Like I have the Denver Nuggets poster right there. Like I've been watching sports my entire life, and I think it definitely gives me a competitive advantage. Whenever I interview people and stuff like that, like if they didn't play sports, I'll still hire them and stuff. But like I think sports teaches you a lot of valuable lessons about teamwork and different things like that. So I think it's definitely important.
What is your truth rating for this specific headline?
I'd say 100,000%.
Incredible. And then finally, our last question for you before we let you go. A headline that you'd like to see in the future?
I mean this in the most respectful way possible towards Jimmy. I love him. But Matthew Beem passes MrBeast in subscribers.
This has been Clickbaited. Thanks for getting your take on these fake headlines around YouTuber content creation.
Thank you so much.
For those watching at home, please like and subscribe for more videos with the world's biggest creators.